Well, JackJack, welcome to the Sapien school bus. It's great to have you on. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me as guest. Wow, it's I feel like I'm in like Joy Rogan TV podcast. Yeah.
Well, to kick things off, we'd love if you could introduce yourself, maybe share about a bit about your background and what you're doing.
Sure. Yeah. So my name is Itgel Ganbold, but I am more known as like JackJack in the community. So I used to work at the Shapeshift, and now we still am with the like Shapeshift DAO, and we decided to actually shut down our company to become a DAO. Then it's inspired me a lot actually. Then based on that one, actually we created the Mongolian very first NFT marketplace, and we launched it 4 months ago, and now it's the biggest NFT marketplace over there. And one way we can say is like NFT gateway of Mongolia.
Yeah, nice. It's so amazing to see all these like projects coming up globally, right?
Yeah.
Like it used to be the case that most internet companies would be based out of Silicon Valley, but now like with Web3, you can literally start a company with anywhere because there's so many talented people globally, right?
And not even just companies, like culture, like exporting the culture of Mongolia. It's amazing to see all this amazing art. I'd love to hear a bit about how you like found the artists and went about creating that community.
So he knew, right? NFT is gonna be this big.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we actually kind of like artists actually apply for our platform. So they kind of request kind of like submission like application. So that's hey, we would like to like maybe submit our NFT. Then we review those artists, and then based on that, if their art's good and utility is good, and then we kind of like give them kind of like access to they can actually create their own NFT on our marketplace. Then on the primary they can actually drop, and yeah, that's the like how actual artists do that. But artists actually doesn't need to know about any technical things, so we handle like everything technical, like deploying smart contracts and like minting and like all the like blockchain and technical sides we handle. They just need to provide really good like NFTs, and that's yeah.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. That's amazing. So, how do you like the way that the platform is built right now? Do you feel like it's more optimized for the people or the culture in Mongolia versus something like an OpenSea or Nifty Gateway in the U.S.? Like, how do you see that?
So our marketplace is actually pretty much similar to Nifty Gateway. So it's actually not like open. So like we have to kind of like make an agreement with our artists. We have to do also like IP and due diligence on their tasks and on their NFTs. Then after that, if it's everything is good, then we actually release their NFTs, so that actually people who actually come to our NFT marketplace, they know that they are buying the legit NFT from us, because we have done all the legal agreements and like due diligence stuff by ourselves, and that's we go like our users actually like just easy to actually just hey, don't worry about any like legal issues on this side, right? That we handled everything, and just be confident that you can buy any NFTs with us.
Nice. Yeah, I know that's a serious thing in this space. Just making sure that the NFTs are being verified, right? Because people, I think this is a common thing that's happening on OpenSea, where people are uploading art from other artists, and it's like, what do you do, right? Like that's so there's a very solid point for that level of like control in the beginning. But do you have plans to sort of decentralize it out more, maybe through a DAO or something along those lines?
Yeah, and actually, like we are actually launching our own DAO this month, and it's really inspired by Shapeshift DAO and how they actually like tear down the company and become a DAO, and we are kind of like using the practices that I learned from Shapeshift, then kind of practicing, using, implementing it at MongolNFT DAO, and yeah.
Can you go into a little more detail about like what are those practices? What does it look like to run a DAO effectively?
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's actually, to be honest, actually, there's no actually kind of good practices for this one, because this industry is really early for this DAO stuff. DAO just started, right? And so people are just like, I think like everybody in the world trying to figure out how to run a DAO, and also like DAOs, it doesn't have to be kind of like you must do this one, right? It can be actually more flexible how you want to run the DAO. And on our case, we just creating like our own governance token called MNFT coin. Then right behind that, like right under that, we have our DAO, MNFT DAO. And then below that, we have different work streams. Engineering work stream, marketing work stream, globalization work stream, and support work stream. It's one way we can understand these as like departments in the company. So in each work stream can have maybe multiple different teams.
Yeah.
So we are structuring the teams at maximum. Each team can have 10 people in the team. That becomes like in it's called like Araft in Mongolian. It's like it's kind of like related to like the Mongolian history, like Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan's smallest unit was like Araft, like 10, like 10 people maximum. Yeah. So these 10 people kind of like flexible, durable, right? They can actually like do whatever they want, kind of like during the war or like do perform some mission, right?
Yeah.
And so based on that one, actually, we kind of inspired by that one. Okay, let our kind of like one team can be a maximum 10 people.
Yeah.
We should not expand it. Like, it's
That's a great idea.
Yeah, no,
it fits with what we're doing here. Everyone, as long as they can fit on the school bus.
Nice. We could do one Genghis Khan unit in this bus. That's for sure. There's several things I liked about what you just said. One, first of all, the transparency from the company transitioning into the DAO and how you're making those new departments as like channels, and I think that's really cool, right? Because you're keeping it really tight. You're keeping the units very tight and transparent, and I think like that radical transparency is one of those things that is such a core value of Web3, and I think it's just so underexplored. So I'd love to see more companies operating in this type of transparent way, and even at Sapien, we're continuing to try to sort of push our company in this DAO direction because that's the one that makes sense.
Do you see these work streams sort of becoming their own DAOs eventually, like a DAO of DAO structures?
That's actually a really interesting question. So like what I see nowadays, it's more like it's actually kind of could be like there's a sub DAOs, right? There could be one big DAO inside that one like sub DAOs. Maybe it could be like similar to maybe the more like sister companies, right?
Yeah.
And like there's a parent company, then they have like a bunch of sister companies.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of actually approach like that one. But so there's no kind of like best practice that like you must do this one, and it really depends on our like imagination how we want to actually run this DAO.
Yeah.
And if it's like good and inspiring enough, right, that other DAOs is going to be actually copy or like inspired by that one and kind of like modify in their own way, can implement and use it in their own DAOs.
Yeah.
So DAOs actually doing like these kind of things all the time nowadays. They're just listening or like learning from each other. Oh, it worked at maybe Olympus DAO, right? Maybe we can actually use it maybe in MongolNFT DAO. Or it worked at maybe Shift DAO. Okay, let's use it in MongolNFT DAO, right? And then maybe other DAOs can see, oh, MongolNFT DAO is doing this out of the stuff, right?
Yes.
The 10th unit, right? Oh, it's actually pretty cool. Maybe we can actually maybe kind of like inspired by that one, and maybe we can use it in our own DAO, right? Yeah.
Really cool. It's like open sourcing social knowledge or culture, right? That's super cool. But speaking of imagination, JackJack, I'd love to see your crazy picture of where the world is going in like 20 years, 50 years after all of this crypto stuff is played out. What does the world look like?
On that imagination, actually, I'm not that imagining much on that side, to be honest. Like it's because in crypto actually changes so fast. Like maybe you are imagining something and just like then maybe like another like really like power comment and maybe change everything, right? And unless maybe you have that one, maybe like I'm just more like observing what everybody is doing, and based on that one I'm kind of like reacting to that. It's more like becoming more flexible and learning from like actual like these thought leaders in crypto, right? And that's the more like I'm just doing it right now. But when I become more like good maybe thought leader like them, then maybe I can could be maybe lead the industry, right?
Yeah,
so
right.
like that's
I mean it's crazy, man, because you're already like the leading marketplace in Mongolia, right? So it's like I think there's a false notion here that like all the thought leaders are based in America, or it's really getting decentralized, right? We're talking with Fabian, and there's a huge hub in Berlin, for example, right? And I think there's no like true sort of leader in this space, right? Like there's certain people that like the Vitaliks that come out with their own sort of ideas and hypotheses, but like it's not like we agree with everything that he says, for example, right? So I think it's an opportunity to really infuse like your own perspective and your own culture and your own values, right, in whatever project that you're doing, right? So there's like no sort of supreme person to look up to. There's no like it's not like the smartphone era where everyone's looking up to Steve Jobs, right? Like DAOs can be as flexible, as unique as as someone wants it to be, right? And I'm curious, JackJack, like how do you see your leadership team sort of transitioning into this DAO structure. How do you see that structure and that level of involvement in the Mongol DAO that you guys are creating?
Yeah, so in MongolNFT DAO, right, so we are kind of like having a talk, like had a bunch of talks, like how we can actually maybe this DAO stuff, like what we can maybe like saw from Shift and any other like DAOs, right? It's their practice is kind of like shutting down the company. That was the kind of the very first company in the world, shutting down their entire company, layoff. Then they actually kind of like become a DAO. And so we might actually try something similar to that one, but now we are actually in the process of the transition from actual company to DAO, and like transferring all the treasuries to DAO, and like trying to open source our codes to DAO, so that maybe we can actually create a bunch of bounty works on Gitcoin, so that anyone from like in the world can actually see our bounty work and actually deliver it, right? In that case, we actually doesn't have to be limited in like for our company, like maybe in our company maybe we have 20 engineers, right? We don't have to be actually limited by that. It can be actually like more like parallel, can go all around the world, can work in bounties, right? That can deliver it like parallelly in much faster speed, right? If actually some of the DAOs or can achieve this one, it's really hard to actually beat them, because they have this really kind of like unfair advantage of like doing things in parallel that maybe we have never seen before.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm so excited about the future of open source software, and one of the interesting things is like groups of developers coming together to form their own DAOs, right? Because that makes it much easier for them to contribute in that way, right? When they have the support of other people, they can leverage their knowledge, they can leverage their connections and their collective pooling of funds. So it's going to be incredible to see.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I mean, Rob, I'm curious how a developer DAO would set its prices, right? And they go around being, and I think Raid Guild, for example, is a good example, where they're just a DAO of like developers, right?
Yeah.
And I think it ultimately returns a lot of agency back to developers. I'm curious to see how the market itself will play out.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because like right now, like groups of developers are organized in traditional companies based on like what they're working on, right? Not based on necessarily like what their values are, what their identity is. So like shifting work towards groups of people that are like aligned together. I think that really can increase productivity. People are like, having fun.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because then like what becomes the competitive advantage at the end of the day? It truly is community, right? Yeah. It's the people that you have that are participating, those true believers that want to see your product, your service taken to the to the global market, right? I think that is really powerful. I'm curious, JackJack, like how you guys have been managing community, and just like what's the level of involvement that you're seeing there?
So yeah, actually, to be honest, like I didn't actually understand much about this community power, but like after I actually kind of like created this MongolNFT, and also like being actually involved in like Shift DAO and another DAO, then I kind of like started seeing this power of community people, right? So at MongolNFT DAO, we actually can have kind of different stages. So that maybe, for example, like engineering stages, so that we can actually, in 2 weeks, once in 2 weeks, we tell people, can demo, hey, what we have done these last 2 weeks, and these are the tasks we have done, trying to be more like open, and like trying to be like more closer with the community, and still we are learning like how to actually be more actually closer to the community and do certain things, and like having like maybe like multiple different moderators, they can have actually like different tasks in the community, and because sometimes actually like this when we build in this stuff, and it's what I see, like sometimes it's kind of a little bit becoming difficult to become more closer and talk to them very often, right? Because on the other side, like I have a lot of things I have to done, right? I have to maybe like architect a lot of stuff, or like maybe meet a lot of people, partnership, etc., right? And I had to kind of like start learning more on the like timing side more, like how to manage this timing effectively, that I can actually done maybe a lot of things, like could be a lot of, could be maybe like quality things within a day, right? And that's actually a little bit actually becoming more challenging, but we are still on the process of like learning like how to actually be more open to the community and talk with them very often, and more like feedback, right? It's feedback loop,
right?
And
it's a process. I mean, like just to because there's obviously a lot of noise, and the opportunity cost of not being able to isolate the signal from the community is pretty significant, right? So like it's really important that you have the team and the DAO structured in a way that you are able to figure out what is the important sort of piece of information that the community is giving you as a project, as a company. And I think that's still like underexplored, right? Like there's no established best practices. Nobody knows how do we actually like make this scalable and not sort of devolve to just like the tyranny of the masses, right? Where there's just a lot of, and this was one of the concerns with something like a Telegram early in the days of crypto, because we've been around for a bit, right? Back in 2016, 2018, everyone was on Telegram, and like you can't honestly coordinate or create any sort of productive proposals or feedback to a company based on that structure, right? The structure itself is inherently limiting, and we're seeing like Discord was the next sort of transition for the whole industry, because now you have all these channels and ways of organizing around topics. But even now, we're seeing people jaded by Discord itself, right? Because it's fundamentally lacking Web3 integrations and the ability to, create your own wallet and have more dynamic interactions, right? So I think there's a lot to explore there still.
I think like maybe next could be like this community round, like the chatting application, or like could be like really, really important, especially based on Web3 functionalities, like implementing NFTs, right? With these NFTs and using these tokens, and like how we can actually interact with the community, and like I think like it's really, really important. And one thing I think also like one see is like it's when we
cut
so like when we
and go.
All right, hey. So one thing I'm like more understanding is nowadays is like how to align these thousands of people in one vision, kind of like trying to like let them understand what we are visioning, right? Making them in one line, and the ones like kind of like maybe like deliver that thing, like making them is the vision that community actually drives from that. I think like I'm more trying to understand, also like trying to actually practice on the community to make them into like one vision and align them. And I think it's become actually really, really hard to do that. But I think we have to talk about our vision very often, reminds them again and again, right? Then people like inspired based on that one, and they're also willingly to support and do things in the community. And
that's super important. Yeah, you can't really have a community if there's not a trajectory, right? Not somewhere that you're headed.
Yeah, and you're right. I do think that one of the most important things of like the leadership team is to always keep that North Star clear, right? And make sure that, because this is a serious problem in the space. People will just be like, all right, we're going to DAO and back off, right? And it doesn't go anywhere after that, right? There's no sort of direction there. So I think to a certain extent you have to keep pushing until like there's that, there's momentum in that side that is unstoppable. Right, and then at that point you can let go, right?
But keep driving the school bus until it drives itself.
Right, exactly. That's
just starting the engine. Like once it's started, maybe it's unstoppable.
So, JackJack. So growing up in Mongolia, I was curious if you were any part of any communities, like before crypto, right? And curious also about your journey into crypto, but first, like kind of where your career started. And how you got into crypto.
Sure, yeah. So, more like community on the side. Like when I was actually more around younger, I used to run the game arena. Like it was like one of the like biggest game arena in Mongolia. And so around that one, I said we had started also gathering a lot of gamers in our gaming place, right? Then it's like community started. Then we are kind of a lot of tournaments and like trying to skill people up and those kind of stuff. It was like really nice, fun stuff. Then I did that one, I think around the year, I think so, yeah. Then, before that one, actually, I went to India first after my high school to learn English, and
I didn't know that. Wow. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I went to India, and then actually once I'm there, actually, instead of learning English, actually I started like bringing a lot of students from Mongolia. and two like the Indian like English training institute or like universities, right? That was kind of also like my on-site business while I'm like learning English, and yeah. And then I spent I think 1 year and a half in India. Then I came back to Mongolia. Then like I had always like in my heart like there's always entrepreneurship kind of thing. Then I actually gathered my friends. Hey, I think we have to do something, guys, right? Like the working for someone is like it's like for me at least, right? It wasn't like in my heart, like.
Yeah.
And then I gathered my friends. Hey, like seems like this, like maybe the game arena thinks it's like it's really good business, but right. And then we kind of like collected a couple of friends and kind of like get the fundings from our parents. And then we kind of like bought a bunch of like computers from Korea and a bunch of like it's table like gaming tables, etc. From
That's
like
really cool.
we went to Beijing and
Oh my God.
like yeah. Then we just like go to like bunch of like these PC places and try to buy like bunch of table and etc. Then we opened the one, and first 2 months it wasn't actually like kicked off. Then we actually like okay, fuck, right?
You can swear, man.
Yeah, it's like it's not working, right? It's like what's even we have like real beautiful like this like new standard that like this PC arena that nobody was coming because nobody knew it actually existed. Then we kind of printed out a lot of actual brochures. Then we actually like standing on the like on the roads and giving this one taxi or like any people, hey, like if you know like anyone maybe like playing like PC like gaming, right, maybe during the night, please bring it as us, right? We will give you like commission on that one. Then it's actually started kicking off actually very fast, like within like a couple of days, like we were just packed.
Nice.
Wow, yeah, that was actually a really great thing.
Nice. Product market fit.
And since then actually like we were like really busy, and we provided like free hot teas and like a lot of stuff, and people really liked that one, like small things. And then actually we sold like our PC, like this game arena. Then after that one actually I came to USA, and then I studied at UNC Charlotte. And while I'm studying there, I went to kind of hackathons, different type of hackathons, like major league hackathons. And every 1 or 2 weeks, kind of like go and practice my skills, learn new technologies, and like asking advices from these different companies. I think that helped me a lot to actually like just become more like skilled in like in computer science, building applications and building like web apps, etc. And based on that one, actually, during my freshman year, I got an internship at IBM, and it was actually like really eye-opening experience. Like one of the biggest IT company in the world, right? It's just like I actually couldn't believe like I did actually kind of got an internship at like during my freshman year at IBM, right? And it was like amazing. And right after that one, I kind of like quickly realized that I didn't want to be kind of like this the small part of big engine, right? Then I wanted to actually work for like explore more like startups. Then I worked at a company called Kingsman. They build applications and integrations, different kind of things for banks, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, SunTrust, etc. And I learned actually from them a lot of different things, like learned really good like skills from them, like how to manage applications, run applications easily, and etc. And then crypto comes in.
That's
Then,
a journey.
Then actually during 2017, actually I this like Bitcoin price was like going up. I was just like shocked, right?
Yeah.
What is it? Like I never heard about Bitcoin. Maybe one time, but like I never actually like.
Where did you stumble on it on Bitcoin first? Like like did you see it online somewhere? Did you read the white paper? What was that?
Oh, it's the first thing was actually like on the news, right? It's like every on the news, like the Bitcoin price is going up. Like, what's going on, right? I wanted to like understand this one more. Then actually, it was actually kind of around summer 2017 summer, and I didn't want to actually work anywhere. Then I went to actually like Washington DC to my sister, and then actually studied like Bitcoin, blockchain stuff for 3 months. And then after that one, I just took a year from school and went back to Mongolia and started selling like crypto miners and like importing like from China to like Mongolia.
Interesting.
And then actually after that one, actually there was a company called ARD, and they were doing really great stuff, promoting the cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, and
Nice. That's a journey, Mike.
Yeah, it's like
that's
a
really
journey, and then,
yeah.
then actually like it's at the conferences nobody's talking about like any crypto building like wallets or like any other applications. But then it's kind of like it was kind of clear then like maybe I should build like first crypto wallets in Mongolia.
Yeah. There's one thread that I want to pull on from what you said. You did mention that what entrepreneurship is about breaking free from being a cog in a machine, right? And I just want to like tell everyone who's listening to this, watching this, that like what the future that we are trying to build in Web3 is a place where everyone can break free from that system. They don't just have to be that cog. They can contribute and spend time however they see fit in whatever DAOs that they want to participate in. And I think that's really, really powerful. It's making everyone into an entrepreneur, everyone into a patron, everyone into an artist.
Yeah,
I think that's the
really
beauty.
good point. Because it's not anymore like 9 to 5. It's like it's not anymore like 9 to 5, right?
Yeah.
You can actually work like whatever time you want and like whenever wherever you want to work.
Yeah.
I think it's important to still maintain stability and make sure that because right now we're seeing some of that with the gig economy, but it's sort of hard to get stability there, to find jobs that are enough recurring income to survive. So I think having those networks of support are very important in making that happen.
Yeah, that sustainability is key.
Another thing that really interests me, gaming, JackJack.
Oh.
How do you see the future of that? I think it's going to be such a huge piece of the metaverse. Does that fit into your future at all? Are you going to do anything related to gaming?
So MongolNFT is like also hugely focusing on investing in gaming too. So and play to earn, right? And also we're also thinking about actually kind of like provide like play as a service thing, right? There are a lot of actually like really good game players in Mongolia, like kids, right? And those kids that can play game and earn, right? Then we can actually provide these like players for like whoever wants to actually maybe like hire these players to play games, right? And like more like player as a service kind of service from Mongolia to the world stage. And that's actually what we are seeing in kind of like different countries, that we want to maybe like bring that kind of stuff in Mongolia, and could be also like one good maybe like stream to bring like maybe dollar to Mongolia.
Sounds fascinating. I think the metaverse just opens up, and esports really opens up international competition. I'd love to see MongolNFT art backing a stadium of esports players. It's like a crazy future.
We have
so
actually
cool.
kind of esports team called Checkmate.
Nice.
And it's one of the like really like good players from Mongolia and playing in the world stage now. And we might see maybe some MongolNFT logos soon.
Nice. Do you want to talk a bit about some of the? I know you're doing a little bit with the land as well. The city
sandbox.
I'm curious if you want to share a little bit about that too.
Sure. Yeah. So we had like in a couple, I think last week we had really huge events in Mongolia, and we just launched our very first metaverse. So on Sandbox, we had kind of competition during like 1 or 2 months competition, and we kind of like, hey, can you guys build our capital city in Sandbox, right? And we got like a lot of attraction from like a lot of people, and people actually gathered together and created companies and participated in the competition. And there was like one project really stood out from the rest, and it was kind of like Ulaanbaatar is the capital city of Mongolia, and they actually showed 3 things: past, present, and future. And it's a 3-layer city. Like you can actually go to the city and can choose which one maybe like want to go, right? It's kind of, it has an elevators between these 3 layers.
That's really cool.
And
that's
you can
really
actually
cool.
go to maybe like hit story, like more like old Ulaanbaatar or like Mongolian stuff. Then you can go to like the present one, and then you can go to more like future one. That's maybe more around like flying horse and like etc. Yeah, it's just like huge.
I think there's so much to draw on for inspiration from history, and one of the things that we're doing with our project as part of this NFT passport is letting people select figures from history that have inspired them, and imagining bringing them all together as part of this collection. So
yeah, it's
I'd love to hear JackJack about any historical figures that have inspired you.
So any historical figure is like one of the historic figure I think it's the most Mongolian people proud of is like Genghis Khan, right? It's it's really like the fascinating hit story, and that's kind of like always like in my heart, like always thinks about that. That great achievements of that's kind of like maybe we can maybe do this one in more like in the virtual worlds, right? It's more like the crypto worlds. There might be a chance, and like that's that's really inspiring. Like Genghis Khan is really inspiring.
That's such a solid like pick. I mean, the interesting part is that he's seen so controversial in U.S. and from a Western perspective, but you have so much like nationalism and pride towards like the people that have been elevated and have done a lot for their country. So
it's difficult to unravel, and history is so complex. I think the important thing is just getting it out there, right, and having people share their history, share their culture, and come together and figure out what can we draw from our shared history that inspires us.
Mm-hmm. Yes, also like this hit story is kind of like kind of changes, right? It's like because it's kind of altered during this years of things, right? And also it's important maybe like as a Mongolian, right, to like the more true hit story of Genghis Khan. Right? It's also like we actually like in my heart I should always kind of like just trying to bring this kind of stuff more.
Right. And at the best, I mean, I think it's so important to like pull the best characteristics from any person in the past, right? No one was perfect, right? Everyone has their flaws, everyone has their skeletons in their closet, but can we actually appreciate the good qualities and bring them in and learn from our past? I think it's just so important. So
at the same time, we have to learn from our mistakes and just like keeping free expression, right? Making sure that and transparency, and that's why blockchain and crypto is so powerful, that we're making things transparent so that we can look at our records and figure out like, okay, what did we actually do wrong? What can we do better?
So, JackJack, curious if you would nominate a few more people to hop on the school bus, have a conversation, and receive a passport, who would be a couple of your picks or people that you'd want to nominate?
On this one, so I think the Eric Voorhees is he was a CEO of Shapeshift. Like he is like one of the like crypto OG and Bitcoin OG. And I think he would be like really good person to actually bring it on here and have an interview and like tell him about like the first digital nation, right? And I think like he would be really interested in this stuff. I think my first pick is Eric Voorhees.
Yeah, nice.
Love to talk to him.
We'll reach out to him. Eric, we're coming for you. Awesome. Well, JackJack, it's been an absolute pleasure. I know we could talk for hours and hours more, but thanks for hopping on the bus and sharing a little about yourself and what you're doing. So.
Yeah, it's great, and also like it's kind of like we have been knowing each other like now months, right? It's like you guys are doing a real phenomenal job. This Harambe, like 10,000 bananas, right, in front of like Charging Bull. Oh my God!
Appreciate
it.
Yeah,
that was like. Whoa, that's kind of like it's kind of world stormed by that. Right?
Yeah,
it's just like like one of the like fabulous thing I have experienced.
Yeah,
and also like I would like to thank you guys. Right?
Yeah,
inviting me to like come to New York, actually like doing this one together, and it was like whoa.
Yeah,
it's like that was
glad to have you part of this journey, and it's all about having fun and inspiring people. So
yeah,
thanks, JackJack.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.